Hey guys, Jonathan here, and today we're taking a look at every Winter 2026 LEGO Marvel minifig. After all these years, it is amazing we still get new stuff, and this wave is pretty awesome. Granted, a lot of the characters here we've gotten before, but these are some of the most detailed and really unique takes on a lot of these figures, so I'm really excited about it. In fact, almost every single minifig you see in front of you right now is brand new, which is really cool, and that doesn't happen in every single wave, so it is a great time to be a LEGO Marvel fan. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into ranking and reviewing these, starting with my least favorite and working my way all the way up to the top. LEGO did send me quite a few of these to review early, but I purchased quite a few of them myself, so I always like to mention that. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into ranking and reviewing. So at the bottom of the barrel, we have the figures we've been getting for years. Of course, Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen. Gwen does get her unique skateboard in the Daily Bugle, but these figures we've been getting for at least 5 years now. And don't get me wrong, they are pretty nice minifigs. It's just with so many new ones in this lineup, these ones absolutely have to be ranked last because they bring nothing new to the table. For similar reasons, as much as it pains me, I actually have the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man ranked pretty low as well. Again, it's not a bad minifig, but when you consider every single other minifig other than this one and the two I just showed you are brand new for this wave, it really wouldn't be fair to place this much higher than this because, well, new is always more awesome. That being said, this figure did only appear in one other set, being the No Way Home Final Battle with the Statue of Liberty head, so it is nice to finally get it in a cheaper set, only $25, but again, with it bringing so little to the table, well, you get the drill. J. Jonah Jameson is basically in the exact same boat because he doesn't bring any new parts to the table, though the combination of parts here are brand new. Like, for example, this torso was used on Michael Scott in Professor X, and now it's used on Jameson, and this head was actually used on Jameson in the big Daily Bugle modular set, which, yeah, now it's nice to get it in a slightly cheaper set, but the Bugle is $100. You know, it is the more pricey one out of the minifig playscale sets, but regardless, it is a nice minifig, but of the repeat minifigs, if you will, it is technically the newest one. Alright, now we're getting into the absolutely brand new minifigs, which are really awesome. Miles Morales is ranked at the lowest of these, though, because we've gotten so many different Mileses, and while this is a really great minifig with a new torso and I believe a new head, at the end of the day, there's not really too terribly much new you can do with Miles' suit because, you know, it basically is just red and black, but I do like this quite a bit, and if you don't have a Miles yet, it's a great way to add him to the collection. Next up, we have the Rhino from the Daily Bugle. Again, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad minifig, but the only new thing here is the torso. It is great to get a front and back print to the torso, but the head being the Shang-Chi head used yet again for another kind of generic character really doesn't sit well with me, especially considering we get another Rhino in this wave from the 4+ Spider-Man sets, which is actually ranked a lot higher, and you'll see why when we get there. But for now, we'll go ahead and move on. Here we have the Spidey and his amazing friends in their pirate outfits, and these minifigs are really cool. Honestly, I feel like the 4+ sets really get looked over a lot by collectors, but the minifig selection, particularly this time around, really delivers. Of course, I do have to rank these ones kind of as their own subdivision here. I think the Miles one looks awesome. I love the red lapels there, and it just looks so great. I will say Gwen is probably my least favorite, so I would go Miles, Spidey, and Gwen. Miles also has Tracy, the little bug robot, which looks awesome. And overall, these are really nice. As you'll see, they have the mid-sized legs, which are short legs that are also posable, you know, to be more in line with what we see in the Spidey and His Amazing Friends show. And honestly, the pirates, seeing them go seabound is actually interesting enough that I may lock in and actually check out this season. But I guess we'll see. And from that same wave, we have Pirate Green Goblin as well as Pirate Doc Ock, and I absolutely love the torso on Pirate Doc Ock. I want to use it for something else, but I just can't think of what I would use it for right off the bat. But with both minifigs, we get brand new torsos and heads, which look great, and I actually really like the simplistic arm build for Doc Ock with those light bluish gray robot arms on the back, and of course we get that same hairstyle we've been getting for her for quite some time, but it's also nice to get those mid-sized legs and some relatively unusual colors, and overall I think that these are really strong inclusions. Coming in 11th place, we have the Venomized Wolverine. Now, 11th place might sound bad, but honestly, there are so many good figures, it is hard to rank them all. So, the Venomized Wolverine has a brand new black Wolverine cowl, which looks absolutely awesome. And we can lift that up to see a Venomized head underneath with Wolverine's sharp teeth. And on the other side of the head, that is, you can see Logan with Venom's mouth opened up. And you can even put the cowl back on to see Logan's eyes, which is really nice. Now, for the torso, we have a completely new Wolverine suit design that's being overtaken by the symbiote, where one arm is exposed and the other is completely black. I honestly think it would have been cool to get black claws for this minifig, but overall, I do think it looks really good, and he comes in at 11th place. In 10th place, we have Doc Ock from the Doc Ock vs. Spider-Man mech set, and this is very odd because, to my knowledge, it's the first time we've ever gotten a Doc Ock minifig that doesn't actually come with arms that you can put on his back. Granted, his giant mech has arms, but he himself does not, so it's definitely an interesting way to make the figure. That being said, the new head used here is really cool. I like the kind of concerned look on one side of the head, and that classic, arrogant Doc Ock grin on the other side. Plus, you know, that torso looks really great, and overall, it is a great figure, and he deserves his spot at number 10. At number 9, we have the Sandman from Spider-Man 3 from the Epic Moments collection, and I like this minifig a lot, don't get me wrong. We get leg printing with toe and hip printing, a brand new torso and head, so every element on this figure is brand new. It's just, I really wish that it looked more like Thomas Hayden Church from the movie. To me, this could just be any Sandman from any Spider-Man movie, and while it does work for Spider-Man 3, I just really want a regular, kind of only half sandy version of Thomas Hayden Church, and if we didn't get it here, I don't know that we'll ever get it. That being said, in the scene that this is representing from the movie, of course, this is exactly the way Sandman looks, so I certainly can't fault LEGO for designing it this way, and don't get me wrong, it does look great, but like I said, there's just so much competition here, so yeah, he is falling in place right here. In 8th place, I gotta give it to the Rhino from the Spidey 4 Plus sets. Now, this figure is really interesting. He has a brand new torso and I believe a brand new head underneath too. And to me, that head design, although it's based off of a 4 Plus Kids show, it really does emulate how I see Rhino from the comics. I mean, just putting it side by side with the Daily Bugle version over on the left, I feel like this looks way more like a comic book style of Rhino. And when you consider both figures have torso printing on the front and back, they both use the same helmet piece, and this one got a new head. Well, technically this brings more new elements to the table than the one in the Daily Bugle, so for that reason, I'm ranking this version of Rhino at number 8. At number 7, we've got the Scarlet Witch-possessed Hulk. Of course, the only new thing here is the head, which if you don't know, the head on Big Figs can now be turned and actually removed, interestingly enough. But the new head has those sunken-in red eyes showing that the Scarlet Witch has taken his mind to far-off places. I don't know how else you'd word it, but otherwise, it's all the same posability of a Big Fig. You've got that leg printing there from the Age of Ultron Hulk we've been getting for a little while now, and overall, I think it's a great inclusion for our 7th spot on the list. In 6th place, I gotta give it to Spider-Man 2099. He comes in the Spider-Man Miles Morales mech set, and it is a really great figure. Now, what a lot of people might not know is that this is not the traditional Spider-Man 2099 that we know, like from the comics as well as from the Spider-Verse movies. This is actually Miguel O'Hara's son, interestingly enough. But you know, if you don't have a 2099 in your collection, it's a great way to add him, although it's not the main one we're aware of. But if you also got the 2099 from the CMF series, this is a really cool way to get a variation that's technically a different character. He does have a great torso print. The head print is about what you'd expect, but that red skull spider looks so sweet. And then, of course, on the back, we've got some of that cell shading printed on the back of the head, and the ripped up blue web cape printed on there. Man, that is so cool and makes for such a great minifig. Alright, we've made it to number 5, and this is Venomized Captain America. This is such a cool minifig, and technically, it's the first time Steve Rogers has ever had leg printing in a retail LEGO set. I probably think about that way too hard. but the facts are what they are. That being said, this minifig is great. If you look at the head, you can see the Venomized, like, logo of the A on his helmet, or rather his head there, and we've got the Venomized eyes that when we put the A helmet on, which has been recolored for black for the first time, it just looks really great. Now, this version of Venomized Captain America has never appeared in the comics. Now, a lot of people get confused when I say that, so let me clarify it, because it is confusing, to be fair. Venomized Captain America has happened in the comics, but this specific design is not what he looked like in the comics, so this is something brand new that LEGO just came up with on their own. His shield has been recolored to black, which is cool. I think it's the first time it's been in black, certainly for superheroes, and it's got the Venom symbiote taking it over. The torso has a Venom Star Captain America design there. We do get that dual molded leg with the printing, which is crazy. And even the black side of the leg has printing too, with the blue spots on there to show that the entire cap suit has been taken over by the symbiote. So the fourth spot is being shared between two different Iron Mans, and I know that it's kind of, I don't want to say like stretching the rules, but to have two figures share the same spot, but the reality is the new things here are the incredible arm prints that each minifig has, and both of them have that great new Tony Stark head underneath that has his iconic sunglasses on one side and a big grin on the other. So considering that they both have the same head and both are relatively similar to figures we've gotten in the past, but the new things are the arm printing. I didn't really know how I would rank one over the other, so I am going to have them share the number 4 spot here, but both are incredible. Where you can get both, this Iron Man comes in the Iron Man statue set, which is quite awesome. Again, you get that great arm print there. And this version here that is the arm printing comes in the Epic Moments collection, which of course is the Hulkbuster battle. So both figures are out as of this wave. And I don't know which one I like more, but let me know in the comments if one really jumps out to you over the other, or if you would rank them about the same yourself. At number 3, I've got Mysterio. Now, this figure is amazing because I think every part here is new with the exception of the fish bubble. If we lift that fish bubble up, you can see that really cool skull face there with like kind of the mist going on. And what's cool is if you didn't want to see the skull face, you could just flip it around and now he's got that, you know, kind of mystic fishbowl on his head, so that works out great. Now, the cape here is the new Batman-style cape, which is that rubber cape with the pointy ends. I'm not crazy about that for Mysterio, but the magenta color does really work out. And, of course, we have a brand new torso and printed legs with hip printing and toe printing that gives us an insane amount of detail on such a great minifig. Mysterio is right up there with my favorite Marvel villains of all time, and certainly my favorite Spider-Man villain, so it's great to see him back, and with a new design. I don't believe this is based off of anything specific from the comics. I think it's something LEGO kind of just came up with on their own, which is kind of a testament to how cool it is, because it really does stand well and represents the character so great. At number 2, we've got Ghost Rider, which is pretty awesome that the number 2 figure in the entire wave here actually comes in a $10 set. I think it's even the cheapest set of the entire wave, which is rad. Now, this Ghost Rider is cool because for the first time ever, we can actually remove the flame piece from his head, and now we can see his penance stare on there, which of course is his iconic move from the comics where he literally burns the souls of his enemies. So that's really cool. I love the orange chain here. We've got the flames going, and of course this new element piece here, which is the flame element that goes on the hands, looks really great, and I really don't know how they could have made this minifig any better. I just think it's phenomenal, and I really, really love this one. And if you guys know anything about me, I'm sure it's no surprise that the Raimi Universe Venom is my number 1 minifigure from this series. I have loved Spider-Man 3 since the day it came out. It meant a lot to me as a kid, and yeah, I know that that's a memeable offense, but here's the deal, guys. That movie really meant a lot to me when it came out. The message of the movie really rang home, and of course, getting this minifig now, all these years later, takes me back to being a kid in the movies in 2007. So all these years later, we finally get him. The giant tentacle pieces that are brick built are kind of interesting, but me personally, I really just like when he's a minifig on his own. We get that great new torso print and that awesome head print with the big, yellowish teeth there. The print on the back of the torso looks absolutely immaculate, and overall, I think this is a stellar minifig and one of my favorite minifigs, honestly, for Marvel ever. I know that's crazy because it's just Venom, but I just never thought we would get a minifig like this, so to get him all these years later is pretty spectacular. Alright guys, well let me know if you agree with the ranking. This was a lot of fun to put together, and man oh man did we get some great minifigs. So let me know your thoughts, your personal rankings, and I'll see you guys on the next video.